My daughter's first words exposed what my wife was hiding from me. The moment happened at 3:47 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon in our sunlit kitchen. I was loading the dishwasher while my wife Nadia bounced our 15-month-old daughter Maya on her hip, cooing nonsense words and making exaggerated faces. Maya had been babbling for months, the usual mama and dada sounds that every parent recognizes, but nothing that counted as real speech yet. Our pediatrician said not to worry, that girls often talked later than the averages suggested, that every child developed at their own pace. Then Maya looked directly at me, pointed her tiny finger, and said with perfect clarity, "That's not Daddy, that's David." The kitchen went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I stood frozen with a plate in my hand, processing what I just heard. Nadia's face drained of all color. She set Maya down so quickly the toddler stumbled, catching herself against the cabinet. "What did you say, sweetheart?" I asked, my voice coming out strange and distant. Maya looked confused by the sudden tension, her brown eyes moving between us. "David," she repeated, still pointing at me. Then she looked at Nadia and said, "Mama, scared." I turned to my wife slowly. Nadia was backing toward the doorway, her hands raised in a gesture that could have been defensive or placating. "Let me explain," she said. "Please, just let me explain before you react." My mind was racing through possibilities, none of them making sense. How did Maya know the name David? Why was that what she called me? I'd been Dada or Dada since she was old enough to make sounds. David was my actual first name, but I'd gone by my middle name, Aaron, since childhood. My parents had given me my grandfather's name as a first name out of obligation, but neither they nor I ever used it. It appeared on legal documents and my driver's license, but nowhere else. I hadn't introduced myself as David since I was 5 years old, and decided I preferred Aaron. "How does she know that name?" I asked. My grip on the plate tightened until my knuckles went white. "Nadia, how does our 15-month-old daughter know my legal first name when I haven't used it in 30 years? Nadia's eyes filled with tears, but they looked more like panic than sadness. "I can explain everything, but not here. Not in front of Maya. Please, Aaron, can we talk in the bedroom?" I looked down at Maya, who was now sitting on the kitchen floor pulling pots out of the cabinet, already distracted by the shiny objects. She seemed completely unaware of the bomb she'd just detonated. "Fine," I said, "but you're going to tell me everything, and I mean everything right now." We went upstairs to our bedroom, and Nadia closed the door behind us. She leaned against it like she was blocking my escape, or maybe preparing for her own. Her hands were shaking. "I need you to understand something first," she began. "I love you. I have always loved you. Everything I did was to protect this family." The words sent ice through my veins. "What did you do, Nadia?" She took a deep breath. "Your name isn't Aaron Westbrook. It's David Aaron Westbrook, I know that. But there's more. You don't just go by Aaron because you prefer it. You go by Aaron because that's the name in the witness protection program gave you when you were 5 years old." The words didn't make sense. They were English. I understood each one individually, but strung together like that, they became nonsense. "What are you talking about?" Nadia moved away from the door and sat on the edge of our bed, her hands clasped between her knees. "Your real name is David Aaron Keller. Your parents were David Sr. and Margaret Keller. When you were 5 years old, your father witnessed a murder committed by a federal prosecutor named Leonard Vaughn. Your father was an accountant who'd been hired to examine some irregularities in Vaughn's campaign finances. He found evidence of money laundering and bribery, and he saw Vaughn kill a journalist who was about to publish the story. Vaughn was connected to organized crime, to people who could make entire families disappear. So the FBI put your whole family into witness protection." I sat down hard on the bed beside her, my legs suddenly unable to support me. "That's insane. My parents are John and Carol Westbrook. They're retired teachers living in Arizona. I remember my childhood. I remember growing up in Philadelphia, going to elementary school there, having friends." Nadia shook her head. "Those are implanted memories, false narratives they created for you. You were 5 when you entered the program. That's young enough that your brain could be reshaped, that you could be made to believe a different history. They changed your last name, moved you across the country, gave you a complete new identity. Your parents played along because they had no choice. But your legal first name stayed David because that's what your birth certificate said, and changing a first name completely creates too many red flags in the system. So they kept David as your legal first name and told you to go by Aaron, your middle name, as a compromise." I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at our quiet suburban street. This couldn't be real. This was the plot of a bad movie, not my actual life. "How do you know any of this? And why wouldn't my parents have told me?" Nadia's voice got quieter, more hesitant. "Because I'm not who you think I am, either. My real name is Nadia Vaughn. Leonard Vaughn was my father." The room tilted. I gripped the windowsill to stay upright. "What?" She continued in a rush, words tumbling out like she'd been holding them back for years. "I found out about you 3 years before we met. My father died when I was 22, and I was going through his papers, trying to settle his estate. I found files he'd kept, obsessive documentation about the Keller family, about David Keller, the man who'd ruined his life. Except David Keller had disappeared, along with his wife and young son. The files showed my father had spent years trying to find you, paying private investigators, tracking down leads that went nowhere. He died never knowing what happened to the family that destroyed him." I turned to face her. "Destroyed him? Your father was a murderer. He killed someone to cover up his crimes." Nadia flinched, but didn't argue. "I know what he was. I'm not defending him. But when I found those files, I became obsessed too. Not with revenge, just with knowing. I wanted to understand what had happened. Wanted to see the person who changed my entire life by taking away my father. So I hired my own investigator, someone better than the people my father had used. And he found you, found the Westbrook family, found Aaron Westbrook, who matched David Keller's age, whose parents matched the description, whose history only went back to age 5. I felt sick. So you tracked me down. You deliberately found me and, what, started a relationship under false pretenses? Tears were streaming down Nadia's face now. At first, yes. I moved to your city, arranged to be at that coffee shop where we met, engineered that whole encounter. I told myself I just wanted to see you to understand who you'd become, but then I actually got to know you, and I fell in love with you. The real kind of love, not whatever obsession brought me there initially. And I tried to tell you so many times, Aaron. I tried to come clean about who I was, but the longer I waited, the harder it became. And then we got married, and then I got pregnant. And I kept thinking I'd tell you after the wedding, after Maya was born, after she was a little older. There was never a right time. I backed away from her. You've been lying to me for 5 years. Our entire relationship is built on a lie. You knew who I really was, knew my history, knew things about me that I didn't even know about myself, and you said nothing. Nadia stood up, reaching for me, but I stepped back further. I love you, Aaron. That part is real. Everything between us is real, except for how we met. How can you say that? My voice was rising. How can anything be real when you've been deceiving me from day one? She wrapped her arms around herself. Because Maya is real. Our daughter is real. The life we built together is real. Yes, I found you under false pretenses, but I stayed because I genuinely love you. I stayed because you're a good man, because being with you made me understand that my father was wrong, that the narrative he'd built in his head about your family being the enemy was just his way of avoiding responsibility for his own crimes. I sank onto the bed, my mind racing. Does Maya know somehow? Is that why she called me David? Nadia shook her head. I don't know how she knows that name. I've never called you David. I've been so careful never to slip up. Your parents never use it. I don't understand where she would have heard it. A horrible thought occurred to me. Are there others? Other people from your father's world who might know who I am? Nadia's expression changed, fear flashing across her face. What do you mean? I mean, if you could find me, couldn't others? Couldn't people who worked with your father, who might still want revenge? Couldn't they find the Keller family too? Nadia's face went pale. I used a private investigator. I paid him well to keep it confidential. Nobody else should know. I stood up and started pacing. Should. That's not the same as definitely don't. Nadia, if you found me, we have to assume others could too, especially if you've had any contact with anyone from your father's old life. She shook her head vigorously. I haven't. I cut off everyone after my father died. I changed my life completely. That's part of why I left Chicago, why I moved here. I wanted to get away from all of that. I stopped pacing and looked at her. But someone taught Maya that name. Someone has been around our daughter, close enough to teach her to identify me as David, who has access to Maya, who watches her when you're busy. Nadia's face crumpled. Oh God, Aaron, there's something else. My stomach dropped. What else could there possibly be? She was crying harder now, barely able to get the words out. My brother, Alexei, I told you he died in a car accident 5 years ago before we met, but he didn't die. He's alive, and he's been living in this city for the past year. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. Your brother is alive and here, and you didn't tell me? Nadia nodded miserably. He found me 6 months after Maya was born. He'd been in Europe trying to distance himself from our father's reputation. But when he came back to the States, he tracked me down. He was angry that I disappeared without telling him, angry that I'd changed my name and started over. He felt like I'd abandoned him. I felt like the floor was falling away beneath me. Has he met Maya? Nadia nodded. A few times. I told you I was taking her to Mommy and Me classes on Saturday mornings. Some of those times I was meeting Alexei. I wanted him to know his niece. He's my only family left, Aaron. I couldn't just cut him out completely. Does he know who I am? I asked, dreading the answer. Nadia hesitated just long enough for me to know the truth. He figured it out. Not right away, but eventually. He saw your legal documents when he helped me change Maya's passport information. He saw the name David and started asking questions. I tried to deny it, but he was always smart. He put it together. I felt rage building in my chest. So your brother, the son of the man my father put away, knows where I live, knows my daughter, has been around my family while I had no idea who he really was? Nadia stood up. Alexei isn't dangerous. He's not like our father. He wanted to meet you, actually. Wanted to have a conversation. But I told him no. I said you didn't know about any of this and it needed to stay that way. I laughed bitterly. Well, that worked out great, didn't it? Now someone has taught our daughter my real name. And the only people who could know it are you, my parents who never use it, and your brother who apparently has been sneaking around behind my back. Nadia's face changed, fear replacing guilt. You don't think Alexei would... She trailed off, but I could see she was thinking the same thing I was. Why would he teach Maya to call me David unless he was trying to expose the truth? Unless he wanted this exact situation to happen? I pulled out my phone. What's his number? I want to talk to him right now. Nadia grabbed my arm. Aaron, wait. If you confront him directly, if he feels threatened, I don't know what he'll do. Let me talk to him first. Let me find out what's going on. I shook off her hand. You've been lying to me for 5 years. Why should I trust you now? The words hung in the air between us, brutal and true. Nadia looked like I'd physically struck her, but she didn't argue. You shouldn't, she said quietly. You shouldn't trust me at all. But please, for Maya's sake, let me handle this carefully. If Alexei has been teaching her things, if he's been around her more than I knew, we need to approach this carefully. He's unpredictable. The word unpredictable sent alarm bells ringing. Has he ever been violent? Nadia's silence was answer enough. Oh my God, Nadia. You've been letting a violent man around our daughter? She held up her hands. He was never violent toward me. It was always directed outward, at other people, and he's been getting help, therapy, medication. He's better than he used to be. I felt like I was going to be sick. Better than he used to be. That's the standard you used for deciding whether to let him near Maya? I grabbed my keys from the dresser. I'm going to get our daughter and we're leaving. You can stay here and figure out your family drama, but Maya and I are going somewhere safe. Nadia blocked the door. Where are you going to go? Your parents? They've been lying to you too. They've kept your real identity from you your whole life. The words stopped me. She was right. My entire life was a construction, a fiction maintained by everyone I'd ever trusted. Then I'll go to a hotel. I'll figure it out. But I'm not staying here. Nadia's expression shifted, something harder coming into her eyes. You can't take Maya. I'm her mother. If you try to leave with her, I'll call the police. I stared at her in disbelief. You're threatening me? After everything you've just admitted? She softened slightly. I'm not threatening you. I'm trying to protect our daughter. If you run, if you panic, you could put her in real danger. The witness protection program exists for a reason. If Alexei does know who you are, if he's been compromised, or if information has leaked, then running blindly could lead dangerous people right to you. You need to contact the FBI. You need to follow protocol. She was right, and I hated that she was right. Fine, but I'm taking Maya to stay with me while I figure this out. You can stay here, talk to your brother, do whatever you need to do. But until I understand what's happening, I don't want her around you or anyone connected to your family. Nadia's face crumpled. Please don't take her away from me. I made mistakes, but I love her. I love both of you. I pushed past her and went downstairs. Maya was still in the kitchen, now covered in flour from the cabinet she'd managed to open. She looked up at me with a huge smile. David Messi, she announced proudly. The name sent ice through my veins. I picked her up, flour and all, and grabbed her diaper bag from the hook by the door. Nadia followed me, crying. Aaron, please, don't do this. I turned to face her at the front door. You did this. You brought your family's history into our lives. You put our daughter at risk by lying for 5 years. This is on you. I loaded Maya into her car seat and drove away from our house. In the rearview mirror, I could see Nadia standing in the driveway, watching us leave. My daughter babbled happily in the back seat, oblivious to the fact that her first real words had just destroyed our family. I drove for 20 minutes before I trusted myself to think clearly. Then I pulled into a parking lot and called my parents. My mother answered on the second ring. Aaron, honey, what's wrong? Her tone told me she already knew something was off. Mom, I need you to tell me the truth. Is my real name David Keller? The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Finally, my mother's voice came back, small and frightened. Who told you that? That was all the confirmation I needed. So it's true. Everything Nadia just told me is true. You and Dad have been lying to me for 30 years. My mother started crying. Aaron, baby, we didn't have a choice. We were protecting you. We were protecting all of us. I felt anger surge through me. By making me live a lie? By never telling me the truth about who I am? My father's voice came on the line, gruff and defensive. We did what the FBI told us to do. You were 5 years old. You don't remember what it was like, the threats, the fear. We had to disappear completely to keep you safe. Telling you the truth would have put you in danger. I gripped the steering wheel. I'm 35 years old, Dad. At what point did you plan to tell me? There was another long pause. We didn't. The program advised us never to tell you. They said the safest thing was to let you live as Aaron Westbrook, to let that become your complete reality. No slips, no cracks in the identity. It was the only way to guarantee your safety. I closed my eyes. Did you know about Nadia? Did you know who she really was? My mother gasped. What? What about Nadia? I explained everything Nadia had told me, about her father, about how she'd found me, about her brother. By the end, both my parents were silent. Finally, my father spoke. We had no idea. None. If we'd known who she was, we never would have let you marry her. Aaron, you need to contact the FBI immediately. If Leonard Vaughn's daughter found you, if her brother knows who you are, your cover is blown. You could be in serious danger. I looked back at Maya in her car seat, playing with a toy and completely unaware of the danger surrounding her. What about Maya? What about my daughter? My mother's voice was thick with tears. Bring her here. Come to Arizona. We'll figure this out together. I shook my head, even though they couldn't see me. I can't run to you. If people are looking for me, for the Keller family, your house would be the first place they'd check. I need to think. My father's voice turned authoritative, the same tone he'd used when I was a child and had done something dangerous. Aaron, listen to me. Contact your handler immediately. We were given emergency protocols for exactly this situation. You need to activate them. I'd forgotten about the handler. When I'd turned 18 and learned I had a trust fund and various legal documents under the name David Aaron Westbrook, my parents had explained it was a bureaucratic quirk, a mistake in paperwork from when I was a child. They'd never mentioned witness protection, never suggested there was anything more sinister to the story. But now I understood there must have been contact information buried in those documents, some way to reach the people who'd created my false identity. Where do I find the handler information? I asked. My father rattled off a phone number from memory. Call them. Tell them your situation. They'll know what to do. I hung up and sat in the parking lot, trying to process everything. My entire life was a carefully constructed lie. My name, my history, my identity, all of it was fiction. And the woman I'd married, the mother of my child, had known the truth the entire time. I looked at the phone number my father had given me. Part of me didn't want to call it, didn't want to confirm that all of this was real. But Maya gurgled in the back seat, and I knew I didn't have a choice. I dialed the number. A man answered immediately. Federal Marshal Service, Witness Protection Program. This is Marshal Garrison. How can I help you? I took a deep breath. My name is Aaron Westbrook, formerly David Keller. I think my cover has been compromised. There was a pause, then rapid typing. Mr. Keller, can you verify your date of birth and social security number? I rattled off the information. More typing. Then Garrison's voice came back, much more serious. Mr. Keller, your file shows no contact with program management since you turned 18. What makes you believe your cover is compromised? I explained everything, Nadia, her father, her brother, Maya's unexpected revelation. Garrison listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Where are you right now?" I told him the name of the parking lot. "Stay there. I'm sending agents to your location. Do not go home. Do not contact anyone else. Do you have your daughter with you?" "Yes," I said. "Is she safe?" Garrison asked. "For now, but I'd need to know if she's in danger." There was a long pause. "Mr. Keller, if Leonard Vaughn's children have identified you, they've had access to your child, we have to treat this as a critical security breach. The people your father testified against, the organization Vaughn worked for, they have long memories. Even after 30 years, there are individuals who would still want revenge." My hands started shaking. "Are you saying my daughter is in danger?" Garrison's voice remained calm but firm. "I'm saying we need to get you both into protective custody immediately. Agents will be at your location within 15 minutes. I hung up and looked back at Maya. She'd fallen asleep in her car seat, her small chest rising and falling peacefully. How had I let this happen? How had I been so blind to the danger Nadia had brought into our lives? My phone rang. Nadia's name appeared on the screen. I answered. "What?" Her voice was panicked. "Aaron, Alexei just showed up at the house. He's asking where you and Maya are. He seems angry. I think he knows I told you everything." My heart started racing. "What does he want?" I could hear male voices in the background. Alexei demanding something. Nadia's voice got quieter, like she'd moved away from him. "He's saying we need to talk. All of us together. He says there's more to the story. Things I don't know. Aaron, I'm scared. He's not acting like himself." I heard a crash. Then Nadia screamed. The line went dead. I tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. My mind raced through options. Go back to the house? Wait for the federal agents? Call the police? Before I could decide, a black SUV pulled into the parking lot at high speed. Two people in suits got out, a man and a woman, both with the unmistakable bearing of federal agents. The man approached my window. "Mr. Keller? I'm Agent Rhymes. This is Agent Torres. We need you to come with us immediately." I gestured to Maya. "My daughter's asleep in the back." Agent Torres moved to check on Maya while Rhymes continued. "We're going to move you both to a secure location. There's been activity around your residence. Local police have been dispatched." My stomach dropped. "My wife is there. Nadia. She's alone with her brother, and I think he might be dangerous." Rhymes' expression didn't change. "Police are en route. Our priority is your safety and your daughter's safety. We need to move now." He started to reach for my car door, but I pulled back. "I'm not leaving until I know Nadia is safe. She made mistakes, but she doesn't deserve to be hurt." Rhymes exchanged a glance with Torres. "Mr. Keller, we have information about Alexei Vaughn that you need to hear, but not here, not in an exposed location. Please, get in our vehicle." Something in his tone made me comply. I helped Torres transfer Maya to a car seat in their SUV, while Rhymes made calls on his radio. Within minutes, we were driving away from the parking lot. Maya woke up briefly, looked confused, then settled against my shoulder and went back to sleep. Rhymes drove, while Torres turned to face me from the front seat. "Mr. Keller, what did your wife tell you about her brother?" I summarized what Nadia had said. Torres shook her head. "Alexei Vaughn is not just unpredictable. He's dangerous. He's been on our watch list for 3 years after being suspected in 2 murders in Europe. We lost track of him 18 months ago when he dropped off the grid. You're saying he's been in contact with your wife?" The words felt like a punch to the gut. She said he'd been living here for the past year, that she'd been meeting him secretly, introducing him to Maya. Torres' expression darkened. "Your wife has been exposing your daughter to a suspected killer. Did she tell you anything about why he came back to the States?" I shook my head. "She said he tracked her down, wanted to reconnect his family." Rhymes spoke up from the driver's seat. "That's not accurate. We believe Alexei returned to the country specifically to find you. We've been monitoring communications that suggest he's been planning something for months. We just didn't know what or who the target was." My mouth went dry. "What kind of planning?" Torres pulled out a tablet and showed me surveillance photos. Alexei Vaughn looked like his sister, same dark hair and sharp features, but there was something cold in his eyes that Nadia lacked. "We believe he's been building a case against you. Not a legal case, a personal one. We think he blames you and your father for his father's death and his family's disgrace. We think he's been using your wife to get close to you." I looked down at Maya, sleeping against me. "But why involve my daughter? Why teach her my real name?" Rhymes answered. "To create exactly this situation. To force revelation of your true identity. Once you know who you really are, once you start reaching out to family and authorities, you become visible. You create a pattern he can track." The pieces clicked together. "This was all planned. Nadia finding me, the relationship, everything?" Torres shook her head. "We don't think your wife was consciously part of a plan initially, but her brother may have manipulated her, used her obsession with your father's case to position her near you. And once she was committed, once she was married with a child, he had leverage over her." I felt sick. "She's been a pawn this whole time." Rhymes pulled into an underground parking garage. "We're here. We need to get you inside and secured." The building was nondescript, some kind of federal facility. They led me through security checkpoints and into a conference room. Maya was starting to wake up properly now, confused and cranky. A woman in casual clothes appeared with toys and snacks. "I'm Agent Riley. I work with families in protective situations. Can I help with your daughter while you meet with the team?" I hesitated, but Maya was reaching for the colorful toys Riley had brought. "Okay, But I want to be able to see her. Riley set up in an adjacent room with a window between us. I watched Maya settle into play, while Torres and Rhymes were joined by 2 other agents. An older man in a suit took the lead. Mr. Keller, I'm Deputy Marshal Forrester. I oversee this region's witness protection cases. We have an evolving situation that requires immediate decisions from you. He pulled up images on a screen. Security camera footage showing my house. Police cars in the driveway. 30 minutes ago, police responded to a disturbance at your residence. They found signs of a struggle, but no occupants. Your wife's car is still there, but she's missing. So is her brother. The room spun. What do you mean missing? Forrester's expression was grim. We believe Alexei Vaughn took his sister. Whether she went willingly or by force, we don't know, but they're both gone. I stood up. We have to find her. He could kill her. Torres gestured for me to sit. We have teams searching, but we need information from you. Did your wife say anything about where her brother was staying? Any locations he mentioned? I tried to remember. She didn't give me details, just that he'd been living in the city for the past year. Rhymes pulled out a map on the tablet. We've tracked some of Alexei's movements. He's been staying in short-term rentals, moving every few weeks. But there's one property that keeps appearing in his pattern, an abandoned industrial building on the east side. We think he might be using it as a base. Forrester made a decision. We send a team there. Rhymes, Torres, you're on it. Mr. Keller, you stay here with your daughter. We'll bring your wife back safely if we can. I shook my head. I'm coming with you. Forrester's expression hardened. Absolutely not. You're a protected witness, not an agent. You stay here where we can control the situation. I stood up. That's my wife out there, the mother of my child. I know I'm angry at her. I know she lied, but I'm not letting her die because of choices her brother made. Either I come with you, or I go on my own. The agents exchanged looks. Finally, Forrester sighed. Fine, but you follow orders exactly. You wear a vest, and if things go wrong, you run. Understood? I nodded. Riley would stay with Maya. I kissed my daughter's head, telling her daddy would be right back, hating myself for the lie. 20 minutes later, I was in a tactical van with a team of armed agents. We approached the industrial building carefully. It was a hulking concrete structure, most of the windows broken, graffiti covering the walls. Torres briefed the team. We don't know how many people might be inside. Alexei has been known to work with hired help. Approach with extreme caution. They gave me a bulletproof vest and an earpiece. Stay behind us at all times, Rhymes instructed. If shooting starts, you hit the ground and stay down. We entered through a side door, agents moving with practiced efficiency. The interior was dark and smelled of mold and decay. We moved through empty hallways, checking rooms. Nothing. Then I heard it. Nadia's voice, distant and frightened, calling for help. I started toward the sound, but Rhymes grabbed my arm. Wait! It could be a trap! But I couldn't wait. That was my wife's voice. Terror I'd never heard from her before. I pulled free and ran toward the sound. The hallway opened into a large room, probably a former factory floor. Nadia was there, tied to a chair in the middle of the space. Blood ran from a cut above her eye. She saw me and her eyes went wide. Aaron, no, get out! Too late. I heard movement behind me. Alexei Vaughn stepped out from behind a pillar, holding a gun. He looked calm, almost relaxed. David Keller. Finally. I was wondering when you'd show up. Behind me, I heard the agents taking positions, but they couldn't shoot without risking hitting me or Nadia. Alexei smiled. This is nice, isn't it? Everyone together. The son of the man who destroyed my father, the sister who betrayed our family, and the federal agents who think they can protect everyone. I raised my hand slowly. Alexei, this doesn't have to end badly. Let Nadia go. Whatever you want from me, she's not part of it. He laughed. Not part of it? She's the whole reason this worked. My sweet, stupid sister who thought she could find you, fall in love, and erase our family's history. She actually believed you'd forgive her for the lies. Nadia was crying. Alexei, please. I told you I love him. This has nothing to do with the past. Alexei's expression turned cold. Everything has to do with the past. Our father died in prison, humiliated and broken. Our family name became poison. I spent years in Europe trying to build a life, but everywhere I went, people knew. They knew what our father had done, who he'd killed, and it was all because of David Keller and his precious testimony. I kept my voice steady. My father did the right thing. He witnessed a murder and reported it. Your father made his own choices. Alexei moved closer, the gun never wavering. Your father destroyed us, and I'm going to return the favor. I'm going to make sure everyone knows who you really are. I'm going to destroy the life you built on lies, just like your father destroyed ours. Behind me, I heard Rhymes' voice quietly in my earpiece. We have shots available. Say the word. But Alexei was too close to Nadia. Any shooting could hit her. I needed to keep him talking. What do you want, Alexei? Revenge? Justice? What will make this right? He tilted his head, considering. I want you to know what it's like. To lose everything. To have the truth destroy you. He pulled out his phone and showed me the screen. I've been documenting everything. Your real identity, your location, your family. In 10 minutes, if I don't cancel the timer, all of this information goes public, goes to the media, to criminal organizations, to everyone who might want to find the Keller family. Your daughter will spend her life looking over her shoulder just like I did. My blood ran cold. Don't do this. Maya is innocent. She's a child. Alexei's expression didn't change. So was I. I was 10 years old when the FBI took my father away. 10 years old when I learned what he'd done, when I watched my mother fall apart, when I became the son of a murderer. Your daughter will survive, but she'll never have a normal life again. She'll always be the daughter of a man who lived a lie, Nadia screamed. Alexei, she's your niece. How can you do this to her? He looked at his sister with something like pity. Because this was never about her. This was always about justice, about making the Keller family pay for what they took from us. I took a step forward. Then make me pay. Leave Nadia and Maya out of it. You want to destroy my life? Fine. But let them go first. Alexei smiled. Noble. Very noble. But here's the thing, David. Your life is already destroyed. The moment your daughter said your real name, the moment you called the FBI, you became visible again. Even if you kill me, even if you stop the information from going public, you can't undo what's already in motion. The Keller family is exposed. You'll spend the rest of your life running. The timer on his phone showed 8 minutes. I heard movement behind me, agents repositioning. Rhymes' voice in my ear. We're ready. On your mark. But I couldn't give the mark. Couldn't risk Nadia's life. I needed another option. What if I disappear? I said suddenly. What if I leave? Take Maya and go into hiding. Nadia can stay here, live her life. You get what you want, I'm destroyed. The Keller family vanishes again. But no one dies. No one else gets hurt. Alexei considered this. Interesting proposal. But how do I know you won't just run to the FBI for new identities? I looked at Nadia, meeting her eyes. Because I'll give you something you want more. I'll tell you where my father is. His new identity, his location. The FBI relocated him separately from my mother when she got sick. He's alone, vulnerable. You can have your revenge on the person who actually testified against your father. Nadia's eyes went wide. Aaron, no, you can't. But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at Alexei, watching his expression change as he processed the offer. You'd give up your own father? I nodded. To protect my daughter? Yes. To end this? Yes. My father made his choices. He knew the risks. But Maya didn't choose any of this. Alexei lowered the gun slightly. How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know this isn't a stall tactic? I pulled out my phone slowly. I can call him right now. You can verify it's him. Then you let Nadia go, cancel that timer, and I'll give you everything you need to find him. Behind me, Rhymes was hissing in my earpiece. Keller, what are you doing? You can't compromise another witness. But I wasn't compromising anyone, because what I hadn't told Alexei was that my father had died 2 months ago. A heart attack. Sudden and fatal. My mother had called me from Arizona, devastated. We'd gone to the funeral, a small private service. But Alexei didn't know that. He'd been too busy planning this confrontation to check death records. I dialed my father's old number, knowing it would ring unanswered. I put it on speaker. After 4 rings, my father's voicemail picked up. His recorded voice, warm and familiar. You've reached John Westbrook. I can't come to the phone right now, but leave a message and I'll call you back. Alexei's face changed. That's him? That's David Keller Sr.? I nodded. That's him. Still using the Westbrook name. Still hiding. But I can give you his address. I can tell you where he lives alone. No protection. No security. Easy target. Alexei stared at the phone, then at me. The timer showed 6 minutes. Why would you betray him like this? I met his eyes. Because he's already taken everything from both our families. He made the choice to testify. He put us all in danger. If giving you what you want means my daughter gets to live a normal life, then that's what I'll do. The lie tasted bitter, but I sold it. Alexei studied me for a long moment. Then he lowered the gun completely. Give me the address. I rattled off my father's old address in Arizona, the house he'd lived in before his death. Alexei typed it into his phone. If you're lying to me, if this is fake, I'll find you. I'll find your daughter, and I'll make sure you watch her suffer before I kill you both. I nodded. I understand, but I'm not lying. That's where he is. Alexei looked at the timer, then at Nadia. Fine, I'll cancel the release. He tapped his phone, and I watched the countdown stop at 5 minutes 32 seconds. Your information stays private, for now. But if I find out you lied, all bets are off. He backed toward a door at the far end of the room, keeping the gun trained on us. Nadia, you're coming with me. You're still my sister, and we have things to discuss about your betrayal. Nadia shook her head violently. I'm not going anywhere with you. Alexei's expression hardened. You don't have a choice. That's when Rhymes gave the order. Take the shot. 2 things happened simultaneously. Rhymes fired, hitting Alexei in the shoulder, and Alexei's finger jerked on the trigger, firing toward Nadia. I was already moving, throwing myself toward her. The bullet caught me in the side, spinning me around. I hit the ground hard, pain exploding through my torso. More gunfire, agents swarming into the room. I heard Alexei screaming, then silence. Torres was suddenly beside me, pressing something against my side. Stay with me, Keller. Medic. Nadia was crying, her hands tied but reaching toward me. Aaron. Oh God, Aaron, no. The pain was overwhelming, but through it, I managed to focus on her face. Maya, I gasped. Keep her safe. Tell her the truth when she's old enough. Tell her everything. Nadia was sobbing. You're not dying. You're going to be fine. Stay awake. But the room was getting darker, sounds fading. I heard sirens, felt hands lifting me. Then nothing. I woke up in a hospital room 3 days later. The first thing I saw was my mother's face, drawn and exhausted. Aaron, she breathed. Thank God. My father was gone, but she'd come. She'd left Arizona, despite the risks to be here. Maya, I croaked. She's safe. She's with agents in protective custody. She's been asking for you. I closed my eyes in relief. Nadia, my mother's expression changed. She's here. She's been here the whole time. The agents wouldn't let her leave, but she hasn't wanted to anyway. She's been in the waiting room. I tried to sit up, but pain lanced through my side. What happened to Alexei? My mother's face hardened. He survived the gunshot. He's in custody. They found his laptop, found evidence of everything he'd been planning. He's going to prison for a very long time. I lay back against the pillows. I gave him Dad's old address. I knew Dad was dead, that Alexei would find an empty house. I just needed to buy time. My mother smiled sadly. Your father would have been proud and terrified, but mostly proud. Over the next few days, I learned the full extent of what had happened. Alexei had been monitoring Nadia for months, manipulating her into bringing him closer to me. He'd been the one teaching Maya my real name, using the hours when Nadia thought he was bonding with his niece to poison her against me. His plan had been to expose my identity publicly, to force me into a confrontation where he could kill me or make me kill him, becoming a martyr for his father's reputation. But I disrupted the plan by offering him something he wanted more: direct access to my father. The federal agents had been impressed by my quick thinking and horrified by my willingness to potentially compromise another witness. Marshal Forrester had been particularly blunt. What you did was brave and stupid in equal measure. You're lucky your father was already deceased, or you'd be facing charges yourself. Nadia visited on the 5th day. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, her hair unwashed. She stood in the doorway like she wasn't sure she was welcome. Can I come in? I nodded. She sat in the chair beside the bed, not quite looking at me. I'm sorry. I know those words are inadequate, but I don't know what else to say. I'm so sorry for everything. I studied her face. This woman I'd loved, who'd lied to me from the moment we met. Did you ever really love me? Or was it always about your obsession with my father's case? Nadia's eyes filled with tears. I loved you. I love you still. That part was never fake. Yes, I sought you out for the wrong reasons, but I stayed because being with you made me understand what real love was supposed to be. Not the twisted thing my father called love. Not the obsessive need for revenge that drove Alexei. Just genuine care for another person. I wanted to believe her. Part of me did believe her. But trust, once shattered, doesn't easily repair. What happens now? I asked. Nadia wiped her eyes. The FBI is offering me a deal. If I testify against Alexei, if I provide all the information I have about his activities, they'll give me immunity for my role in compromising your identity. But I'll have to enter witness protection too. New identity, new life, completely separate from you and Maya. The words hit me harder than I expected. So you'd disappear. She nodded. It's probably for the best. You and Maya deserve a life without the shadow of my family hanging over you. I've caused enough damage. I thought about Maya, about her growing up without her mother. What if there was another option? Nadia looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. What do you mean? I took a breath, knowing I was probably making a mistake but unable to stop myself. What if we all went into the program together? New identities for all three of us. A chance to start completely over, this time with honesty. No more lies, no more secrets. Just us trying to build something real. Nadia stared at me like I'd lost my mind. After everything I did, you'd give me another chance? I met her eyes. I'd give us another chance. Not for what we were, but for what we could be. Maya deserves a mother. And maybe we deserve the opportunity to build a relationship based on truth instead of deception. But it has to be different this time. Complete honesty, complete transparency. The first lie, first secret, and it's over. Nadia was crying openly now. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. I smiled slightly despite the pain. Probably not, but Maya deserves a family, and maybe we both deserve a second chance to get it right. Marshal Forrester was skeptical when I proposed the plan. You want to go into protection with the woman who compromised your identity in the first place? That's insane. I shrugged, then regretted it as pain shot through my side. Maybe, but she's Maya's mother, and I believe she can change. I believe we can make this work if we're honest with each other. Forrester sighed. This is highly irregular, but given the circumstances, given that your previous identity is thoroughly compromised anyway, I suppose we could make it work. New identities for all three of you. New location. Complete severance from your previous lives. I nodded. That's what I want. My mother wasn't thrilled with the decision, but she understood. You're sure about this? After everything she did? I took her hand. I'm sure. Not because I trust her completely yet, but because I want to try. Because Maya deserves that. Chance. My mother kissed my forehead. Your father always said you had his stubbornness. I see it now. 3 weeks later, I was discharged from the hospital. Maya had been brought to see me several times during my recovery, though the agents were careful about the visits. She'd started calling me Daddy again instead of David, the name forgotten as quickly as she'd learned it. The day we left for our new life, I stood in the hospital parking lot with Nadia and Maya, waiting for the federal van that would transport us. Nadia held Maya, who was babbling about trucks and birds. Are you sure about this? Nadia asked quietly. We can still back out. You could take Maya and go on your own. I looked at my daughter, at her mother, at the fragile beginning of something that might become a family. I'm sure, but Nadia, I need you to understand something. This is a one-time offer. If you ever lie to me again, if you ever keep secrets, we're done. Maya will always have both of us in her life, but we'll be parents, not partners. This only works if we're completely honest with each other from here forward. Nadia nodded. I understand. Complete honesty, I promise. The van arrived. We loaded our minimal belongings, everything else having been left behind with our old identities. As we drove away from the hospital, away from the city, away from everything we'd known, Maya pointed out the window. Where go? She asked. Nadia and I looked at each other. Somewhere new, I said. Somewhere safe. Maya seemed satisfied with that answer. She settled against her mother's shoulder and closed her eyes. 6 months later, we lived in a small town in Montana under the names Marcus, Julie, and Emma Sheffield. The irony of hiding under common names wasn't lost on me, but the federal agents assured us these identities were solid, backed by decades of documentation. I worked as an accountant, appropriate given my father's original profession. Nadia had a job at the local library. Maya attended daycare and was thriving. her vocabulary expanding daily, though thankfully with no more unexpected revelations. The lies between Nadia and me had ended, replaced by sometimes painful honesty. We talked about her father, about my father, about the choices both men had made and the consequences we'd inherited. We went to couples therapy, working through the betrayal and building something new. It wasn't easy. Some days I looked at her and felt rage at what she'd cost us. Other days I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with trying desperately to make amends. But we were trying. That was something. Maya would grow up knowing an edited version of the truth, carefully crafted by therapists who specialized in helping children of witnesses. She'd know her parents loved her. She'd know they'd made mistakes, but were working to be better. She'd never know the full extent of the danger she'd been in, the role her first words had played in nearly destroying us all. One evening, I sat on our porch, watching the sun set over the mountains. Nadia came out and sat beside me, 2 cups of tea in her hands. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then she said, "Do you think you'll ever fully forgive me?" I thought about it. I don't know. Some days I think I already have. Other days I remember the betrayal and it's fresh all over again. But I'm trying. That's all I can promise. She nodded. That's more than I deserve. Maya's laughter drifted through the open window where she was playing. The sound was pure and joyful, untainted by the darkness that had surrounded her early life. "Do you think she'll remember any of it?" Nadia asked. "The old house? The basement incident? Any of it?" I shook my head. She was too young. It'll all fade into the background, become nothing more than vague impressions. She'll grow up thinking this is her only life, that Marcus and Julie Sheffield are her real parents, that Montana's her home. Nadia smiled slightly. "A fresh start for all of us, then." I took her hand, still not entirely sure if I was making the right choice, but committed to trying. A fresh start, built on truth this time. We sat together as darkness fell, 2 people carrying the weight of the past, but choosing to build a different future, while inside, our daughter played, her first words, and their devastating consequences already fading into the forgetting of childhood, leaving only the family that had survived them.